All right, Nuggets fans, welcome in to Pickaxe and Roll, brought to you by good friends over at BETONLINE. I am your host, Ryan Blackburn at NBA Blackburn on Twitter, part of the Mile High Sports Podcast Network, and I am here. I am excited to talk about last night's blowout. Denver Nuggets defeat the Philadelphia 76ers. Final score 144 to 109. Holy cow, they're shooting up a storm. It's crazy. That was a wild game to be at, just from an offensive process standpoint. Also wild to see where the Philadelphia 76ers are. We were in the media room waiting for Michael Malone to speak after the game, and you could hear them through the wall yelling at each other. It was like in the Sixers locker room. It was crazy. So always fun to see that. Always fun to see suffering, which is that might be a little bit too much, but it was still pretty interesting to see. Still pretty fascinating to see where Denver's at, where Philly's at. Obviously, I have rivalry week up at the top, and it was not a serious rivalry week. That is for sure. Because Joel Embiid did not play, and Nikola Jokic dominated in 3 quarters. He was fantastic. We'll get into it all. We'll talk about Julian Strawther having a career night and Aaron Gordon locking in. We'll talk about just how everybody seems to be rolling for this Nuggets team, and that I think that they are just a different level of team now than they were before. Pretty cool to see. But really quickly, this podcast, as you know, it's brought to you by the good folks over at BetOnline. They continue to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion. From touchdowns to three-pointers and hat tricks, BetOnline has you covered on every game, every play, and every win. Make sure to download the app, check it out. BetOnline, the game starts here. Once again, I'm your host, Ryan Blackburn. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. We're going to get into all of this game. We'll probably talk about it for a couple segments here. This game started out I don't think any single person in the building, including the Sixers, thought that the Nuggets were going to lose. Everybody knew the Nuggets were going to win in this building. Denver went up 35-27, but they could have been up by even more in the first quarter. They went up 42-40 in the second quarter. And the only thing that was really keeping the Sixers in this thing was Tyrese Maxey, who was great in this game. 28 points and 10 assists, 11 of 21. Was a dynamic player, but the problem was that he was the only one. Paul George, I said this to somebody at the beginning of the game, or maybe before the game even started. I don't think Paul George even matters. Like, you have to try to contain Tyrese Maxey a little bit. And Paul George is just a shell of his former self at this point. He was a great player. He is now no longer a great player. Gershon Yabusele he was awesome for the Sixers. It was pretty interesting to watch him picking and popping at the 5 spot. Obviously can't guard Jokic, but on the other end, he was giving him back some buckets. So pretty interesting to see. But it was just clear the gap between these two teams. And Jokic was the biggest reason why, of course, but there were a lot of other players that contributed. You had 4 other guys, Michael Porter, Christian Braun, Aaron Gordon, and Julian Strawther, who had between 19 and 23 points. And Joker had 27 on 10 of 15. Like, it was an all-around performance, to be clear. Just tremendous to watch Denver roll. And the offense that they've been putting out over the course of these past few weeks has been awesome. I was talking about this to Matt on Locked On. That episode actually went out this morning. The offense is just so easy for Denver right now. Think about how difficult it was for Denver as a team early on in the season. Yeah, they were still scoring enough, but it felt like everything was wading through mud. Everything was difficult. The pacing was off. The rotations were off. The roles were off. Jamal Murray was off. There were just a lot of things that were not like Nuggets basketball. And now like you're seeing a completely different side of them, a team that is running as relentlessly as they are. They're moving in the half court really well, operating and orbiting around Jokic on a consistent basis. They are just dominant. And like the stat that really emphasizes that, Denver had a 75 true shooting percentage. 75 as a team on the season. That's insane. They had 4 points on long 2-pointers. They were absolutely dynamic, and I tend to think that this is just another step in the stepping stone for them. The Sixers are in a bad place. I don't want to make it overly big, like what Denver did in this game, but I do think that they've continued to level up at this point. On Jokic specifically, another, like, it's hard to even come up with superlatives at this point to really discuss what he's doing. 30 minutes, played 3 quarters again, 27 points on 10 of 15 from the field, 2 of 3 from 3, 5 of 5 from the line. Jokic had 3 rebounds at halftime. He finished with 13. He's got 10 rebounds in 12 minutes, which is nuts. Finished with 10 assists, 4 steals, and a block. Only 2 turnovers, was plus 21. He continues to be absolutely locked in, and it just goes to show how easy the game is for him right now. Andre Drummond played 20 minutes. He was fine. Yabusele was actually giving them better minutes overall. But they just, like, the Sixers had no answer for them. It was very apparent how small they looked out there. Michael Porter made Paul George look small. Nikola Jokic, he matched up about as well as you can physically with Andre Drummond. And then when Yabusele was out there, who's like 6'7", that's a little bit different. And then they started, the Sixers had Tyrese Maxey, Eric Gordon, and Kelly Oubre. Denver's backcourt, Russell Westbrook, Jamal Murray, Christian Braun, like, they matched up well size for size with them, and it just wasn't really a contest about the team that was more physical, trying to get into the paint, trying to push the pace, doing all the things that you're supposed to do. Pretty clear that Jokic is orchestrating all of this and doing a great job, but it's everybody. It's not just him, of course. He's just going to get the most credit, as he absolutely should. Nobody on the team is going to make an all-star team outside of him. Nobody else is going to really be honored once again outside of him. Maybe Russell Westbrook would earn 6th man of the year if he went back to being a 6th man, but he's been starting as often as he has. Everything's just clicking with Denver's group. There's a lot of mixing and matching of these lineups to make sure that they're doing the best that they can. But everything around Jokic seems to be working really, really well, and he continues to put so much pressure on these teams on a consistent basis. I saw on TNT at the end of the game, like in the post-game interview, that he said he thinks he was playing the best basketball of his life. And I got to agree. Like, it's hard to argue with that, right? But it is still really impressive to watch him. Really impressive to see what he continues to do. And the Nuggets are just in a great place with him right now. You have to have as much confidence as possible in Denver because of what he's doing, because of how he just cannot be stopped right now. There are going to be teams that match up with him better than the Sixers did, obviously. But, like, what can you really do? Especially when he's shooting the ball like this. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but just been awesome to watch him. Other things that happened in this game, and there were plenty of great things. Julian Strawther, I think he had a career high 23 points, 8 of 14 from the field, 5 of 9 from 3. It's interesting at the end of these games, and like, he wasn't racking up all these points in garbage time or anything like that. He had 4 3-pointers in the first half. He was tremendous. I think he had 14 at the half. But it is funny, Denver is operating with like 14 healthy bodies right now. and they have 4 garbage time guys. And then they have Julian Strawther. Like they're able to get Peyton Watson out of the game. They're able to get Aaron Gordon, DeAndre Jordan, these other guys out of the game. But Julian Strawther stays in because he's still a second-year player. Peyton Watson's graduated above that because he's a third-year player. But Julian still played 26 minutes, was a plus 21. And that, to me, is the real indicator of what's happening here with Julian. And I put this out yesterday or Monday about Denver and the rotations that they've been putting out consistently. The Julian Joker minutes are up to plus 11, or they were at 41 games. Plus 11 is unbelievable. Like, that's really, really good. And Denver has so many different combinations that are at that level right now. The Julian Joker combination was the one that was lagging behind in terms of all of the Joker lineups and the best versions of Denver's team. Now it feels like the team is using Julian Strawther really, really well and figuring out, okay, how can we get him to be productive? How can we use the attention that he takes up as a spacer and then play good basketball off of that? And he's doing his part. He's doing a lot of great things. He's not always shooting the ball well. There are some times where, okay, the process is there, but the result is not. Last night, it was clear that the process and the results were there. He made good on a lot of open shot attempts. And the fact that he can take those threes and consistently make them is such a big deal for Denver spacing. There's a reason why the Nuggets are so high on him. They know how important that shooting is, and just been really impressed with how he has stayed the course. It's hard for me to remember sometimes that Julian Strawther is a second-year player. He immediately came into Denver, and yes, he was a rookie, but he was a guy that you could immediately see, okay, Michael Malone trusts him. Michael Malone sees the vision, and he immediately was running more plays for him last year than most anybody. And so there's a lot to like about what Denver's bench is coming into focus as, including with Aaron Gordon, who continues to come off the bench, who continues to do a lot of great things for Denver. 19 points, 6 of 7 from the field, 3 of 3 from 3, 4 of 4 from the line. That's an insane shooting split, just in general. And like, he didn't do a lot else other than that. He had 3 assists. He had 1 turnover, didn't have any rebounds, steals, or blocks. He didn't need to. Like, this was a very clear, I am doing what I need to do as a scorer to help this team win, to help put the Sixers to bed. And there are times where Gordon will do all the other stuff too, all the other hustle stuff. He didn't do that in this last game. But it's great to see Denver have these totals where Julian Strawther is 23 off the bench. Aaron Gordon has 19. Like, obviously, Peyton, he had only 1 shot that he made, and DeAndre only attempted 1 shot. But Denver's getting this production from their bench and this consistency from their bench in moments where early on in the season, they were wondering, what are we going to do? Like, who's going to step up for this bench unit? Nobody had any idea. And so this is a really great spot for Denver to be in. They've evolved at this point in showing some serious production and showing some serious progress, I would say. And Aaron, I think, deserves a ton of credit for that. Michael Malone gave a ton of credit for him in the postgame last night and was just really awesome to see. He deserves that credit. He's definitely going to get that credit. It's going to be fascinating to see. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about a couple of other guys, including Christian Braun, who had some fun comments for your boy post game, and we'll talk about Michael Porter a little bit, Jamal Murray, Russell Westbrook, some of these other guys, and then how Denver's just leveling up into an elite team. We will talk about that on Pickaxe and Roll. All right, we are back. Pickaxe and Roll. Ryan Blackburn here. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Would really appreciate it. Um, it is funny. So this, I know this guy's been coming at me in the comments before, but says, bro, Blackburn been getting roasted by every single Nugget, even CB. It is like kind of at that point where everybody's like, okay, we know we can have fun with Ryan. I don't really fight back in a lot of these pressers. I don't feel the need to. Like, if this is content, then so be it. And it's also like not like I'm not important in this particular conversation. These guys are playing well. They're playing well. And the context for this, by the way, just so that people know, Christian Braun was he was talking about online criticism and talking about just the way that he handles it. And he said he loves it. He said he loves to see it. It's a good reminder of like what he needs to do. And he also likes to prove people wrong. So he bookmarks a lot of tweets. And then he turned over to me and is like, yeah, shake your head. You're definitely bookmarked. He did say the bookmarked part, but I think everybody knows. I have a high volume of tweets, a high volume of takes, a high volume of podcasts. Like, whatever I say, it's going to get clipped. Whatever I write, it's going to get bookmarked at this point. And that's fine. Like, it shows that I've moved forward in this business, I'll say. And it's been like, hey, people care. People care what I have to say. So, all right, let's get back to it. Christian, I think, had a tremendous game once again. These last two games for him, he has really gotten downhill. The first one against Orlando, where he had 20 points, 11 rebounds, something like that. Last night, he had 20 points on 8 of 11 from the field, 4 or 5 from 3. He doesn't even have to take threes right now. Like, it's not even a problem. And I'm not one of those guys that is always going to be on him about shooting threes. Like, it's just not. Like, I know where the bread is buttered in terms of his game, and it's driving in transition, attacking the paint, doing everything that he needs to do. And let me see if I can pull up his shot chart here for myself. Yeah, this shot chart is crazy. Every shot is in the restricted area except for one, which is on the restricted area. That is awesome. So, like, look. That's what you want to see from somebody being aggressive. You absolutely want to see. Yeah. Okay. This guy says, you need to have some faith in your team. One, I'm trying to get away from it just being my team. Like, I know people like to think of me as a fan. I'm a media guy. Like, I try to be as impartial as I possibly can be in these things and just talk about what happened. Talk about like what's actually happening on the court. So when the Nuggets lose to the Washington Wizards, who had lost 16 games in a row and they dropped to 11-10, then you're going to get a different reaction from me than when they've won 16 of their last 22 games since then and just look like a vastly different version of themselves and are playing like a vastly different version of themselves. And like, they are both teams. They still have those lows at times, but it's way fewer in the last few weeks. And I think Denver, of course, deserves credit for that. And I've given them credit on a consistent basis. But when you lose to the Washington Wizards, and by the way, they've also lost to the New Orleans Pelicans and the Portland Trailblazers in the month of December, like, you deserve a little bit of criticism. And that's fine. Like, nobody, like, if they, like, wouldn't they say, yeah, we deserve that, we earned that because we lost to a whole bunch of horrible teams? They would say that. But they're up on the podium and they're feeling themselves, and they deserve to also crow a little bit. So I don't take it personally, nor should anybody else. Like, they have earned the right. Especially Christian, who took a lot of criticism in the offseason. By the way, your boy was like, okay, did you just say the Celtics lost to the Hawks? Bro, the Hawks are like the 6th seed in the East. They're the 6th seed, bro. You're stupid. All right. I don't know. Either way, I was one of the folks that was like, Christian's going to be very successful in the starting unit. I don't know what everybody else is thinking about. You can absolutely lose KCP. You just have to bolster your team in other ways. I said a lot of ways. Like, I don't know how the Russ experiment is going to go, but Denver does need some attitude there. Like, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. All right, you're getting in timeout. No, actually, that's an overreaction for me. Okay. Christian deserves to crow. He deserves to have that. Like, of course. Like, he's been awesome, and I know that I'm definitely not the hardest person on him. Like, let's be real. I'm definitely not the hardest person on him. Now, Michael Porter, I've been hard on. Like, Michael Porter, I have different expectations for. Yesterday, he started out 0 for 2 and then finished 8 of 13 from the field and 3 of 6 from 3. He was absolutely lacing it by the second half and was just on point with everything. It was great to see him kind of bounce back and hit some threes. He goes through these ups and downs where sometimes he's hitting all of his threes, sometimes he's hitting all of his twos. When you have a mix of that, like he shot 5 of 7 from 2 and 3 of 6 from 3, then you have games like this where he goes 19 on 13 shots and is playing the most efficient basketball that he possibly can. Really, really good stuff from him, including 3 offensive rebounds. The fast break points that the Nuggets were getting, even on the ones that they didn't convert, Michael Porter was there and grabbing offensive boards, did a great job. Russell Westbrook also filling his role clearly, doing some good things. And it's always interesting because I talked at the beginning and he had like 4 turnovers in the first quarter. And it didn't ultimately matter. I think it prevented Denver from having like a 15-point margin in the first quarter as opposed to an 8-point margin. Oh well, they won by 35. He's playing great basketball. 11 points, 9 assists, 7 rebounds, 1 steal, 4 of 5 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3, including a pull-up 3 on a 3-on-1 fast break, which was hilarious. You just don't see that anymore from, like, actually you see it a lot from other guys, but I just haven't come to expect it from Russell Westbrook. But he laced that thing. It was absolutely, like, it was nothing but the bottom. So he's in a new place in terms of confidence in that jumper. Been really interesting to see him evolve and do different things for this team. He's been awesome, been great. And then Jamal Murray didn't shoot the ball particularly well. 9 points, 2 of 7 from the field, 0 of 3 from 3. Did get to the line 5 times, which was nice. Made all 5. His free throw shooting has really come around. Like, that's a small detail here, but he is automatic at the line. And the Nuggets as a team yesterday were automatic at the line. 24 of 25 is a pretty tremendous number. But yeah, Murray in 33 minutes also had 7 assists, 6 rebounds. There was a weird turnover that he had, I think, at the end of the second quarter. I was wondering, what are you doing here? It was either the end of the second or the end of the first. But other than that, like, he, I think, did exactly what he needed to do. A couple of really nice left-handed passes to the right side of the court, 1 to Julian Strawther, 1 to Peyton Watson. And it's going to be fascinating. Going to be fascinating to see, like, how he continues to change, because he's not going to have to score all the time if the Nuggets are rolling and the rest of the team is rolling the way that they are. Now, if the rest of the team isn't rolling and Jamal is also scoring 9 points on 7 shots, then people are going to have some questions, of course, and rightfully so. But in a game like this, it's okay to take a step back and allow guys like Julian Strawther to have a big night. Allow Aaron Gordon to shine with that second unit. Murray kind of got out of their way, and it's pretty fascinating to see that and see it when it works, see it when it's supposed to look and how it's supposed to look. So it's going to be interesting. And yeah, that's really it about yesterday's game. On the Joel Embiid stuff, a lot of Nuggets fans have, and look, I laugh at the jokes because some of them are funny. Some of them are becoming not as funny, just in general. I know lots of Nuggets fans like to clown Embiid and clown the Sixers and just everything that's gone on there. There are right ways to do that, and there are wrong ways to do that. Embiid isn't ducking Denver, obviously. He missed his 8th game in a row. He's not healthy. He's getting his career cut short right now. And it just sucks because you never want to see a guy when you are trying to do like to stay around for your team. And he's played through a lot of injuries. Embiid has had his face broken like 3 times. He's had so many different knee and foot issues throughout his career. He's trying to do his best to stay healthy and just hasn't been able to do so. And this was the book on him at the beginning of his career, especially when he missed those first 2 seasons with the foot injuries. Like, that's hard to see. And you can have, like, and him says it here, last year he did duck. The year before was worse. The year before was way more egregious. Last year, he then was clearly dealing with something serious. The year before that, he played like 16 games in a row, then ducked Denver, and then came back and played a whole bunch of games in a row. And that was during the time when he actually had the Shams article that came out at the same time. And that was basically campaigning for him and criticizing other MVP candidates. And then he didn't play in Denver. So I don't know. This one, it's hard for me to criticize him in this particular situation when he's played like 13 games this year. Like, he's just in a really bad place. And the Sixers are in a really bad place. And some folks are going to be like, hey, deserved. And look, it's not my place to say one way or the other on that. But it does suck for him and for Sixers fans. And they're going through the ringer right now. It is really tough for that particular franchise. And like, I don't have a whole bunch of sympathy for a variety of things, but for a guy that's getting his career cut short, that's something else entirely. But yeah, and him says it here, kind of sucks for rivalry week because we all want to see that matchup in Denver. Of course, absolutely. And Michael Malone, I asked him about rivalries pregame, and he said rivalries are effectively dead and that Denver hasn't had a rival. The only team that he brought up as a possible rival was Minnesota, and that's because Denver just lost to them in the playoffs and then played them in the previous season. But he also said, would I consider that a rivalry? Probably not. These teams, like every team in the NBA, is just so mixed up over the course of multiple years and multiple eras that rivalries are really hard to generate. And I think the NBA saw all of the toxicity that bore out of the MVP race in each of these past few years between Jokic and Embiid and their fans, and thought, hey, let's just try to showcase this as much as we can. Take advantage of this. Hard to really do that. Like, honestly, I think that if there was a rivalry week, Denver should be facing Minnesota, and they are facing them on Saturday. And honestly, probably facing the Lakers. And because the Lakers are a team that defeated Denver on the way to a title back in 2020, and then the Nuggets defeated them on the way to a title in 2023, and then obviously won last year in 2024 when Jamal Murray made a shot. That was that was my Anthony Davis impression. Sorry if that didn't come across the mic. I hit the microphone. But look, there's just a lot of there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to say about rivalries, and the problem is that there's not enough of them in the NBA. There's everybody, it's the AAU culture that has really permeated things where everybody loves each other. Everybody's played with each other already. And there just aren't a lot of folks that hate each other. It's not my place to say, hey, you should hate more people in the business. It's good for ratings. It's good for popularity. That's not really for me. So does Denver have a rival? I don't know. Who knows? Last thing, everything's rolling for Denver right now. And I wrote about this on the article that just went out this morning. If you haven't checked it out, make sure to. It was a late recap article from me. And sorry to get it out too late. It was between the late game last night and then recorded a pod with Matt. And it was just a lot. Like, I couldn't actually get it out until like it would have been 2:00 in the morning when I would have posted, and I decided, let me just save it for the morning. I wrote some numbers here. Even through Denver's 16-6 stretch, they're still 19th in the NBA in defensive rating. There are still some things that they have to improve upon. But they have the third best point differential in the NBA during that stretch as well, according to Cleaning the Glass, at plus 9.5. The only teams that are better during that stretch since December 7th, December 8th, when they lost to Washington, the 35-7 OKC Thunder and the 36-6 Cleveland Cavaliers. Everyone else, including Boston, obviously Boston's gone through the ringer themselves, including, I don't know, pick a team, Houston, Memphis, New York. None of those teams have matched up with what Denver's done. And Denver's mostly done it through unbelievable offense. Their defense hasn't even been that good. And it'll get better. And what we've actually seen in the month of January is that the Nuggets have the NBA's second best offense and the 9th best defense in the month of January. They are really improving. In the last 2 weeks, they've leveled up defensively as well. It seems like the consistency is there on that end of the floor. And I asked Christian Braun this in the post game. I asked, hey, what's the next step? You talked about you want the team to continue to improve. You want them, like, you want to see the team become elite. What is the next step in that? And he said, I don't think we're really close. I think we have flashes of defense, flashes on defense. Quote, we're not close to where we want to be, but nobody is. It's important in this stretch to stack wins however you can get them. It doesn't really matter as long as you get the win, and then you want to improve defensively. He spoke a lot about defense. He spoke a lot about how Denver doesn't really worry about the offensive end. They'll figure it out. There are some things that they have to figure out on the offensive end, of course, but it's hard to argue with the numbers and what they've been since, December 8th. Second in offense, 19th in defense. But the defense has improved. And I do think that there are ways that it will continue to improve. Getting Aaron Gordon back is definitely a big deal, just because he's another body that you can trust. He's like the ninth man in the rotation is DeAndre Jordan, but Gordon provides them another body where before it was Hunter Tyson or Jalen Pickett or one of those guys. And now it's Aaron Gordon who is consistently out there. And it's just been really, really impressive to watch. I think that the Nuggets are in a good spot. I don't know if Aaron's going to continue to come off the bench for the entire time before the All-Star break. I think at some point he's going to hop back into the starting lineup. They've got 12 more games between now and the All-Star break on February 12th is Denver's last game. They've got 12 more games. They've got a 5-game road trip coming up. They've got some home games after that, some road games still. There's still a lot that they have to go through. But I think they're making progress. And I wrote about, I think they have leveled up to a point where you can start to see the vision of them competing for a title. Before now, everything was so dependent on Joker being awesome. Now, Joker is awesome, and other guys are getting involved, and other guys are lifting things up. The bench lineups are becoming way better on a more consistent basis. It's less the -15, -20 stretches and more of the, hey, we're only -3, or hey, we're +6, or hey, we're +12. And that's when you start to get into blowout territory. Because if the Nuggets are +8 or +12 without Joker on a consistent basis, what are they going to do with Joker? it's very easy to see the formula for Denver when the bench takes care of things. And Aaron Gordon has absolutely taken care of things too. So a lot of fun, a lot of good stuff. The progress that they've made is tangible. And I think, like, I have been a staunch critic, but mostly because I know it when I see it. When Denver is playing championship level, they are now playing championship level. It's taken them a little bit. It took, like, I didn't know if they had this gear in them with this particular team. I didn't know. And I'm glad that they've proven that they can. So really excited to see it for Denver. Really think that they are in a good spot. Could they still make trade additions? Yeah, I actually think that they should probably try. Like, you should absolutely not just let this lie. You should continue to try to add more talent to your team and try to be a little bit more versatile. There's a reason why they're still out there. Like, they're still making calls. They are. And they're going to continue to look. Who knows if they actually do something, but it's going to be fascinating. I get these comments, especially from this guy all the time. Oh, the sky's not falling. He says no more trades. Dude, they lost to the 2-18 Washington Wizards, who had lost 16 games in a row. And that wasn't the only time that they lost to a team like that. The Nuggets, by their own admission, were not playing good basketball. And now they are. And so I changed my tune because they've changed their level. They have. They're just playing at a higher level more consistently. Like, just a month ago, maybe even a few weeks ago, they would be going back and forth with this Philly team and probably winning by 6. Now they won by 35. They're a different team than they were before. And it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to say, like, there are different levels to this thing. And a win is a win at the end of the day, but how you win matters. How you build championship habits matters. What you're doing to get that win matters. And they've made a lot of progress. So they deserve the credit. And I'm going to give it to them. I have given it to them. Just very, fascinating to see the haters pop in at this point. But hey, who cares? Nuggets are rolling. Everybody's playing well, and they deserve the credit for it. So they will get it. All right. That is going to do it, I think, for this episode of Pickaxe and Roll, brought to you by our good friends over at BetOnline. I will discuss some different names on the trade market to watch over the course of these next couple of days. Probably do a pod tomorrow, maybe. I haven't decided on my specific timing of it, but I think there will be some discussion on some names to watch, and we'll get into all of that. I know people want to hear about that as well. We will see what happens. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on the way out. I will talk to you guys very soon.